Hello and welcome to this exciting channel. Today, we have a super exciting story called The Story of Esther. It is a wonderful tale about a brave young woman who saved her people with God's help. Our story starts a long time ago in a beautiful, sunny land called Persia. This is where our hero, a kind and lovely young woman named Esther, lived. She was part of God's special family, the Jewish people, and her story teaches us all about having courage, keeping faith, and how God works in amazing ways to save his people. In this grand kingdom of Persia, there was a powerful king named Xerxes. One day, he decided he needed a new queen. So, he sent his helpers all over the land to find the most wonderful young woman to be his new wife. In the city of Susa lived our Esther, and oh, she was as gentle and kind as she was beautiful. Her parents had gone to be with God, so she was lovingly raised by her older cousin, a wise and good man named Mordecai. When the king's helpers saw Esther, they knew she was special. She was brought to the palace along with many other young women. But Esther had a secret. Mordecai had told her, "Esther, for now, don't tell anyone that you are one of God's people." Esther, who was very obedient, listened to her cousin and kept her secret tucked safely in her heart. And guess what? The king was so charmed by Esther's grace and sweet spirit that he chose her to be the new queen. He placed a sparkling, royal crown on her head, and everyone celebrated. Queen Esther was loved by all. Now, Esther's cousin, Mordecai, was a very loyal man. Every day, he would sit near the palace gate, just to make sure his dear Esther was doing okay. One afternoon, while he was sitting there, he overheard two of the king's guards whispering. They were not happy, and they were planning something very naughty. They were plotting to hurt the king. Oh no! Mordecai knew he had to act fast. He quickly sent a message to Queen Esther. Queen Esther bravely went to King Xerxes and told him everything. The king's soldiers checked the story, and it was true. Mordecai had saved the king's life. The king was very grateful, and he had his scribes write down Mordecai's good deed in the royal history book, a big, important scroll that told the story of the kingdom. But for now, that's all that happened. Mordecai didn't get a big reward or a shiny medal. Not yet. Anyway, in the king's court, there was a man named Haman. He was a very proud and selfish man who the king had made his most important official. Haman loved being powerful. He would parade through the streets, and the king had commanded everyone to bow down to him. But Mordecai would not bow. He knew that he should only bow down to God. This made Haman puff up with anger. He was furious. How dare he not bow to me, the great Haman, he thought. Haman's heart filled with so much hate that he decided to do something truly terrible. He didn't just want to punish Mordecai. He wanted to get rid of all of Mordecai's people, all the Jews in the entire kingdom. So he went to King Xerxes with a wicked, tricky story. He said, "Oh great king, there's a group of people in your kingdom who follow different rules. They are trouble." The king, without knowing Haman's true, evil plan, was tricked. He gave Haman his special ring to make a new law, a terrible decree that on a certain day, all the Jewish people would be destroyed. Therefore, a dark cloud of sadness fell over the land. When Mordecai heard about this horrible law, his heart broke into a million pieces. He tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes, which was how people showed they were very, very sad. He cried out loudly, and soon, all the Jewish people across the kingdom were crying and praying to God. When Queen Esther heard about Mordecai's sadness, she was so worried. She sent a messenger to ask him what was wrong. Mordecai sent back a message, explaining Haman's wicked plot. He urged Esther, "You must go to the king. You must beg him to save our people." But Esther was terrified. She sent a message back, saying, "But Mordecai, you know the rule. No one can go to the king without being invited. If he doesn't hold out his golden scepter, they will be put to death." Then, Mordecai sent back the most important message of all. He said, "Esther, don't think you will be safe in the palace. And who knows, maybe you became queen for such a time as this for a reason." Mordecai's words filled Esther with a new kind of strength. She realized that God had put her in the palace for this very reason. She wasn't just a queen, she was a hero in the making. She sent one last message to Mordecai. "Go and gather all our people in the city. I want everyone to pray and fast for me for 3 days and 3 nights. My maids and I will do the same." Fasting meant they would not eat, and they would spend all their time praying, asking God for help and courage. For 3 whole days, Esther and all her people prayed with all their hearts. At the end of the 3 days, Esther felt God's peace. She put on her most beautiful royal robes, took a deep breath, and said to herself, "I will go to the king, and if I perish, I perish." She was ready to risk her own life to save her people. What incredible bravery! With her heart pounding like a drum, Queen Esther walked into the king's inner court. She stood there, waiting. When King Xerxes looked up and saw his beautiful queen, his heart filled with love for her. He smiled and held out his golden scepter toward her. It was a sign. She was welcome and safe. He asked her, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? I will give you anything, up to half of my kingdom." But Esther was very wise. Instead of telling him everything right away, she had a special plan. She said, "If it pleases the king, I would like to invite you and the mighty Haman to a special banquet I have prepared." The king was delighted. At the banquet, the king again asked her what she wanted. But Esther smiled and said, "My request is this. Please come with Haman to another banquet I will prepare for you tomorrow. Then I will tell you what is on my heart." That night, something strange happened. The king couldn't sleep. He tossed and he turned, but his eyes just wouldn't close. To help him fall asleep, he asked his servants to read to him from the royal history book, the big scroll where they wrote down all the important things that happened in the kingdom. The servant opened the scroll and began to read. Suddenly, he read the part about how a man named Mordecai had uncovered a plot and saved the king's life. The king sat up. "Wait a minute," he said. "What honor or reward was given to Mordecai for this?" His servants replied, "Nothing has been done for him, O king." Just then, Haman walked into the court. He had just finished building a giant gallows, a tall wooden structure, to hang Mordecai on. He had come to ask the king's permission. But before he could speak, the king asked him, "Haman, what should be done for a man the king truly wants to honor?" Haman's proud heart swelled. He thought, "Who would the king want to honor more than me?" So he described a grand ceremony. "Let the man wear the king's royal robe, ride the king's own horse, and have a noble lead him through the city shouting, 'This is what is done for the man the king delights to honor.'" "Excellent idea," said the king. "Now, go quickly and do all of that for Mordecai the Jew." Haman's face fell. He couldn't believe it. He had to honor the very man he hated most. Later that day, at the second banquet, the king asked Esther again, "Now, my queen, what is your wish?" This time, Esther was ready. With tears in her eyes, she said, "O king, if I have found favor with you, please spare my life and the life of my people, for we have been sold to be destroyed." The king was shocked. "Who would dare do such a thing?" he demanded. And Esther, pointing her finger, said, "The enemy is this wicked Haman." Gasps filled the room. Haman turned pale with fear. The king was so full of rage that he stormed out into the palace garden to think. Haman, terrified, fell on the couch where Esther was, begging for his life. When the king walked back in, he saw Haman at the queen's feet and became even angrier. Just then, one of the king's helpers said, "Your Majesty, Haman has built a gallows 75 feet high to hang Mordecai, the man who saved your life." The king's decision was swift and final. "Hang Haman on it," he commanded. And so, the wicked Haman was punished on the very gallows he had built for the good Mordecai. It shows that evil plans always backfire. Even though Haman was gone, his terrible law was still in place. So, King Xerxes gave his royal ring to Mordecai and Esther. He told them to write a new decree. The new law gave the Jewish people the right to gather together and defend themselves and their families on the day they were supposed to be attacked. Messengers on fast horses raced across the entire kingdom, spreading the good news. When the day came, God gave his people great strength and courage. They were victorious over their enemies and were saved from destruction. There was so much joy and celebration everywhere. To remember this amazing day forever, Mordecai and Esther established a happy festival called Purim, which is a time for feasting, giving gifts, and thanking God for saving them. Wow, what an incredible story. Esther teaches us so many things. First, she shows us that courage can change the world. Even when she was scared, she did the right thing. It also reminds us that God can put us in just the right place at just the right time to do his special work, just like he did with Esther. We also learn about the power of faith, prayer, and fasting. When Esther and her people prayed to God, he gave them the strength and wisdom they needed. And we see that God is always in control. He can turn a bad situation completely around and make evil plans fail. God is always watching over his children. Thank you so much for joining me for this amazing story of Queen Esther. I hope you loved it as much as I did. If you enjoyed our story today, please give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next adventure. Always remember, God can use anyone, at any time, for his great purpose. Yes, even you. See you next time. Bye-bye.